guys, Midnight Strike here, and today I'm going to make this video to address the simple question, what is the best hard rock and heavy metal album of 2011 through 2012? So, this is going to be a little bit subjective from my point of view, and I'm going to go through each of the albums that I've reviewed thus far on my channel, and within the next few years I'll just do single years, but for now, since I only have 2 reviews out for the 2011 album reviews, I'm just going to go through those. So, basically just, I guess, subscribe, comment, what do you think? What is the best album of 2012 through 2011 through 2012? Sorry, messed up. But, as I go through and attack these albums head on, just give your interjections, give your opinions, and if I missed anything about the albums that I'm talking about here, just let me know. Alright, so I'm going to start this off with my first album review that I ever uploaded on this channel, my review of Sebastian Bach's Kicking and Screaming from 2011. Alright, so Sebastian Bach's latest effort, Kicking and Screaming, was created and recorded and released in the year 2011, around September, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But, actually, when it was first released in my review, I unloaded just heaps of praise on it, saying it was basically the next best thing to what he did in Skid Row. And, you know, I still stand by that, because it's something unique, it's something different. But the thing is, later, after I did the review, I found something out. The songs aren't actually his. They are, as I said in my review, Nick Sterling's. Nick Sterling was the now ex-guitarist for Sebastian Bach, and he brought in a lot of his influence. So basically what I thought was Sebastian Bach's influence was really Nick Sterling, and it was basically Nick Sterling's band with Sebastian Bach as the lead singer. So it's still a good album, but knowing this, and knowing that all the songs were basically already done by Nick Sterling, even before Angel Down came out, kind of puts a damper on it. I wish that Sebastian Bach would have put more work into doing, like, his thing. I wish he would have put more of his influence in it, because now that Nick Sterling's out of the band, he's out of Sebastian Bach's solo group, all that influence that Nick Sterling brought into the band is now probably going to be gone, unfortunately. But, on a lighter note, Sebastian Bach's Kicking and Screaming is still a phenomenal record. I'd still rate it, I think I rated it like 9 point something out of 10, I'm not sure. But, I would still recommend it to a lot of people, though. It's still got some killer riffs on it. It's just, Nick Sterling, you know? I mean, if you ever get the chance, though, check out Nick's stuff, too. He's still a great guy, but, he's now out of the band, so good luck to Sebastian in the future, I guess. I still say that this album is pretty good, but it's not the best album of 2011, in my opinion. So when I first talked about the album A Different Kind of Truth by Van Halen, I praised it. I gave it a 9.8 out of 10, saying it was a return to form for the band who had pretty much lost their way, who had previously lost their way, with their drama, with their lead singers. They had Sammy Hagar, they had David Lee Roth, then they had Gary Sharon, and then they went back to Sammy, then they went back to Roth for a little while, and, well, then they stayed with Roth. And thank God they did, because this, seriously guys, this sounds like classic Van Halen. All the licks are there. Some of the songs were actually written for their Zero demos back in the 70s, and it's a really good album. This could possibly be the best album of 2012. And I don't say that lightly, because there were a lot, and I mean a lot, of good albums from 2012. I should know, I reviewed most of them, most of the good ones, and most of the good rock albums. I don't do, like, pop and shit. But, this is the first album that they had, basically, with David Lee Roth, as I said in my review, since the 1984 album in 1984. And in my opinion, it's the best album since then, if not the best since their debut. It's probably my favorite Van Halen album, other than their debut. But something I didn't elaborate on were the lyrics. And that's just a really, really bad weak point for this album, because the song Bullethead, for instance, is about traffic control, and you're banging your head, and you don't want to be hearing stuff about budget constraints and traffic and like horrible drivers. I mean, like, it's just the way that they pull it off. I mean, Van Halen have always had party lyrics, and that's what they've been known for. Or like why Sammy Hagar can't understand love and stuff like that. But other than the lyrics on a few songs, just a few, this album shines. And I would honestly say that this is possibly the best album of 2012, but at the end of the video, I'll elaborate more on that further. So, there you go. There you have it. Van Halen's A Different Kind of Truth. Speaking of return to forms for bands, Dark Adrenaline by Lacuna Coil sees another return to form from a band that clearly lost their way with 2009's Shallow Life. That was their previous record. It had a few good songs, but for the most part, it was filler. Karma Code was before that, and it was basically them going mainstream and evolving their sound to sound a little bit more commercial, a little bit heavier on the guitars, less like screaming and breakdowns, stuff like that. And Dark Adrenaline continues that trend. They take a much more mainstream approach, but not as much as Karma Code. They go back to their roots a little bit. They start sounding a little bit more eerie, like in their earlier releases, such as Half-Life, and I'm trying to think of the song name, Intoxicated. That is probably the most eerie song on the album. I gotta say, though, Upside Down is my favorite Lacuna Coil song, period, like I said in my first review of it. So, basically, this is another really good album of 2012. I don't know if it's the best one. It's the most consistent one with its genre, because a lot of the other albums are just all over the place with ballads and hard songs and just songs that don't really seem like they could go together. But this one pretty much stays consistent throughout the entire album, sticking with one genre. So if it's not the best album of 2012, I would probably rate it the most consistent. So there you have it, Lacuna Coil's Dark Adrenaline. Great album, check it out. Get it in the stores. If you get the deluxe version, it comes with, where is it? Guitar picks right here. See? That is awesome. And I actually use them. So they are the medium thickness. So yeah, there you have it. Dark Adrenaline Lacuna Coil. Living Things by Linkin Park, I was originally a little bit apprehensive about because, as most of you already know, I just absolutely hated A Thousand Suns. And I couldn't listen to it for longer than 2 minutes without just being like, what the fuck happened to these guys? No more like, what the fuck happened to music? But, that's not what this is about. This is my review of Living Things, and I basically feel the same way about it as I did back when I reviewed it. You guys can check out my review, and this is the best album since Meteora for these guys. I mean, it's better than Minutes to Midnight. Minutes to Midnight was pretty good, albeit it was a different turning point for the band. They sounded completely different. It was okay, but Living Things is just an all-out return to form. It sounds like Meteora. It sounds like they found their way again. Castle of Glass sounds a lot like Breaking the Habit. Powerless it's slow, it's soft, and the lyrics really speak to you. I mean, if you've ever had a friend like that, I mean, honestly, I think that's probably one of my new favorite songs by Linkin Park is Powerless. I love that song. And Lost in the Echo echoes pretty much what they were back then, is a very amazing pop rock new metal band that pretty much rocked the world over. So, great record, great album, and high contender for best album of 2012. I gotta say, I mean, it's a really good album. So, that being said, it's good. I don't know. My opinion really hasn't changed. I don't really know what else to say. So, there you have it, Linkin Park's Living Things. So, for this album, All I Was by Mark Tremonti, in my original review, I didn't know what to say. I mean, I had just found out the album was released a few days ago, I almost missed it, so I got it, and I gave it a playthrough, but I was expecting a lot more at the time. I thought it was filler, just, I thought it was too radio friendly, I thought it was too compressed, and I wasn't really that impressed, to be honest. I mean, I still think Mark Tremonti could do better, but the fact remains that this album has actually grown on me. I mean, songs that I had originally just blew off as filler, I have actually grown accustomed to, I've actually grown a liking to, such as Doesn't Matter. I had originally said it was filler, but now I actually really, really enjoy that song. And Leave It Alone, I mean, just a lot of these songs on here from Tremonti that I originally had said were filler, I now actually enjoy. And it's got pretty much everything. I mean, the lyrics are great. The lyrics are phenomenal. As, you know, if all of you guys have probably heard Creed and listened to Creed and Alter Bridge, I mean, Mark Tremonti, the guitarist for Creed and Alter Bridge, has a say in all the lyrics. So basically you're hearing influences drawn from that. So basically you're getting Alter Creed, if anything. And ever since I first heard his Tremonti's vocals in My Own Prison, I was just blown away by his voice, to be honest. And it's only gotten better with age. I still think he could have sang a little bit better, but this album still stands. I would not call it the greatest hard rock album. It's far from it. But it's worth a listen. It's worth a buy. The lyrics are great, so if you love Tremonti, if you love Creed, if you love Alter Bridge, I mean, by all means, check this out. But if you're a new fan coming in and thinking that this is going to have, like, the most shredding solos, and he said it was going to be thrash, it's not thrash, it's hard rock. If you're looking for, like, a heavy metal album with the crunch and, like, the shredding fast solos, this album probably won't be for you. But nevertheless, I still say check it out. So... Transit of Venus. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. I originally said this album was okay, but I really... I don't know. I'm not feeling it. I mean, 3 Days Grace, really good band, really good lyrics. Transit of... Like, 2 or 3, 4 tops, good songs. The rest are just kind of poppy, kind of annoying, and just don't really stick to one genre. I mean, it's not even consistent with itself. It's not all that great to listen to. Sign of the Times, horrible song. And horrible vocals. I mean, he sounds like he's drunk. As I said in my review, he sounds like he's drunk. Okay? And some highlights... Before I get into the negatives, some highlights are the lead single, Chalk Outline, and Expectations, Misery Loves My Company, Happiness, which I didn't mention, I forgot to mention in my review. Happiness is a great song, actually. Expectations and Happiness, and Give In To Me, they're a Michael Jackson cover. They took a cover and they made it their own. They took a song, made it their own. It's good. It's all good. But Broken Glass, Sign of the Times... and just songs, mediocre songs like that. I mean, Transit of Venus isn't a bad album by any means. I personally don't like it, but I'm not going to say it's a bad album. I mean, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. I mean, I was being very generous with that. And I don't think it sucks. I don't like it, but there is some musical talent in Transit of Venus. It's just, it's buried, practically. This comes nowhere near best album of 2012. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about it. I mean, it's got good songs, but it's not consistent with itself. It doesn't have an identity at all. So, that being said, my rating still stands. My thoughts on this still stand. I just haven't listened to it much since it came out, so I can't really rate it much higher or change my opinion on it. Worship Music by Anthrax. An album so good that it got me into reviewing albums in the first place under my old channel, which will not be named at all. So, I switched over to this channel, posted my Kicking and Screaming review. That was originally my second review, but I had to record worship music so many times over that at the time it just didn't seem practical to me. But then I was bored, so I decided, why not? Hey, it's a phenomenal album, phenomenal return to form. We seem to be having a lot of those in 2012. So everything is good about this album. Just everything. I mean, maybe the vocals are a little bit rough around the edges, but that's Joey. I mean, he's aged. I mean, this is the first album with Joey Belladonna since 1990's Persistence of Time, first single by Anthrax with Joey Belladonna since 1999 with Ball of Confusion. So they've had, been on and off. George Bush, what the George Bush, John Bush, Dan Nelson, and then Joey Belladonna with the reunion, the Among the Living tour, and the subsequent almost reunion, pretty much. And then finally they decided to get back together and release Worship Music. So this is the resulting album, and I gotta say, some of the songs sounded like they would be better if John Bush was singing them, but Joey really does give it his all. I mean, he sounds exactly like the perfect substitute, pretty much. And, I mean, he sings pretty much just like John Bush would on the songs that John Bush seems like he would have been better suited for. So, it's kind of a win-win situation. So, doesn't contribute to the loudness war, isn't compressed to the point that Death Magnetic was in 2008, so that's a plus. All in all, I would say this album is really just what we need in this day and age for the resurgence of thrash metal. So, it's a really good album, really good start. Hope to see more from Anthrax. So this is another great Kiss album we have on our hands, Monster. It was actually released last October, and it pretty much retains all the power, all the raw energy, all the angst, all the raw feelings that came with their previous 70s releases. It sounds more like their 70s releases, actually, than their 80s releases, which were more pop-oriented and hook-oriented. I mean, all that stuff is still there. It just kind of leads up to what point we are at right now. And as I said in my original review, Def Leppard, Metallica, and AC/DC, Motley Crue. These four bands have not yet released an album. Ugh. AC/DC used to be my favorite band of all time. They're amazing. They should release an album. All these four bands should release another album. Kiss, however, took it to the next level and actually did. They promised that they were back, pretty much. They promised a return. And that was pretty much hailed with Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom was their return album, and now Monster is their follow-up. And it echoes, it's like a blast from the past, to be honest. I missed out on Sonic Boom, but Kiss Monster is probably, it's up there. I'm not sure about best of 2012, but it's up there. So I encourage all of you to check it out. Monster by Kiss. So A War You Cannot Win by All That remains to this day a mixed bag. Some of the songs are good, some of the songs are actually downright phenomenal. I mean, such as Down Through the Ages, A War You Cannot Win, the title track, and Just Moments in Time, Sing for Liberty. Those are some of the best songs they've ever written, ever crafted, and to this day, I still listen to them on repeat, along with all their other stuff. But the fact that there's a lot pulling on the opposite end of the spectrum, pulling this album down. But some of the songs, like say not Sing for Liberty, Not Fading. That's what I meant. Not Fading, and What If I Was Nothing. Like those songs, and a few of the other songs. It sounds like it's whining. It's emo, and it's just not music that All That Remains should be releasing. I mean, some of it's good for a band that wasn't All That Remains. If it's good, but it doesn't feel like All That Remains. So I don't really know what else to say. Overcome, This Darkened Heart, The Fall of Ideals are probably my favorite ATR albums, and that's probably when they were in their prime, in my opinion. But this album has too many drawbacks for it to be the best album of 2012. So it's just too inconsistent in its genres. Some of the songs are like hardcore All That Remains, hardcore ATR like in the past, but I don't know. I still wouldn't say it's as mellow as For We Are Many, say, or as big of a letdown, but I wouldn't say it's another The Fall of Ideals or Overcome. So, that being said, that's a war you cannot win by All That Remains. And seemingly this album is a war they can't win. Because either way, I mean, damned if they do, damned if they don't, no matter what they do. Fans will decide. So we haven't heard anything, and I mean anything, from Aerosmith since at least 2004 with their Honkin' on a Bobo album. That was a cover album, and before that it was 2001's Just Push Play. And that was an album where they didn't really have an identity, as I said in my previous review of it. So that's not what this is about. This is about music from another dimension. Aerosmith's 10th, 12th, something, latest studio record. And I gotta say, it's a huge improvement over Just Push Play. And it's a great way to re-enter the spotlight. I mean, Steven Tyler has proved time and time again that his vocals are pretty much the center point of the band, combined with Joe Perry's riffs. And Joe Perry actually sings a few of these songs. There are a few choke-ups, in my opinion, such as the country song, but it is good for a country song. I personally don't like country, but some of you may. And there's a few filler tracks, as there are 18 songs on the deluxe version that I received, so just be wary of that. Some good songs: Legendary Child, Love 3 Times, and my favorite, actually, Another Last Goodbye. That's a ballad that pretty much distinguishes itself from I Don't Want to Miss a Thing in every single way. I mean, Steven Tyler hits some of the high notes that you never knew he could hit in the first place, even back in the 70s. I mean, it's amazing. So, and the album even has somewhat of a story to go along with it as well, with it being in another dimension. So, highly recommend it, and it's a really good album. Like I said, it's a good album, but I don't know if it's the best album of 2012, as there are a lot of really good albums here to choose from. But I will do the verdict for that right now. So we've had a lot of good albums, a lot of not so good albums, and a lot of albums that just kind of made us go, I don't know. So in this review, I'm doing the best albums of 2011 and 2012. So for 2011, my pick would probably be Worship Music. And I know that's saying a lot, because there are a lot of albums from 2011 that I didn't take a look at, but a lot of the albums that I didn't take a look at I'm going to name off right now. In Waves by Trivium, The Drug in Me Is You by Falling in Reverse, Justice by Rev Theory, and 13 by Megadeth. So, and I still, even including those though, I would still say, oh yeah, Here and Now by Nickelback, but I don't think I'm ever going to touch a Nickelback record, because either way, if I say it's good, people are going to get mad at me because it's Nickelback. If I say it's bad, people are going to get mad at me if they're Nickelback fans. So, I mean, I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. So, but even including those records, I mean, Worship Music is a return to form from a band that pretty much lost their way and had a shit ton of drama conveying around them, circulating around them. They had just a shitstorm of drama with the lead singers, but they got Joey back, and they sound top notch practically now. And Joey even has a little bit of thunder, a little bit of pound in his voice, in his vocals now, because he's trying to go with the John Bush songs, and he does a really good job, and he still sounds like he did like 10 years ago, 10, 20, 15 years ago. So, I mean, that's a really good thing. So, Worship Music is the best album of 2011, in my opinion. But what about 2012? That still leaves 2012 open for blank. And I actually got a chance to review a lot more albums in 2012 than I did in 2011. So, delving more into that, Different Kind of Truth, Dark Adrenaline, Living Things, all those really good records, phenomenal. And the ones that fell flat, in my opinion, were probably A War You Cannot Win and Transit of Venus. Transit of Venus is probably my least favorite out of the ones that I've reviewed thus far. So, that being said, I think actually the best record of 2012 would probably have to be A Different Kind of Truth. I mean, I know that it has like corny lyrics by pretty much everyone's standards, aside from You and Your Blues and Tattoo, and I think there's a few others. Big River's pretty good. But it's a return to form practically. I mean, like I said with Worship Music, I mean, it's got the original singer, classic rock. It's an old band just reforming, trying to have a good time, for their fans. So, I know I may seem biased for classic rock, classic thrash metal, like older bands, but I'm really not. I'm looking at everything here, because All That Remains, like a lot of other people had said that it's just War You Cannot Win, Transit of Venus didn't really like, as I've said a million times before, prior to this, and next best thing that probably wouldn't be classic rock would probably be a tie-in between Dark Adrenaline and Living Things, the other constants, and honestly, I don't know what I like better, Living Things or Dark Adrenaline, because they're both phenomenal records. So, excluding A Different Kind of Truth, I'd probably say those are the runner-ups, are Dark Adrenaline and Living Things for the best albums of 2012. So, that being said, hope you enjoyed watching this. I'm going to do another one for video games, and this actually turned out to be a really long video. I might do my other finale videos in a different format, just to keep the length down. So, but I thank you for watching. I'm going to put some annotations up in case you just want to watch certain sections of it. But, thank you. More reviews to come. I am Midnight Strike 3625. Thank you for watching. This is 2012.